Okay, hi ladies.
Hi.
How are you all?
Hi. Baruch Hashem, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Chasei Hashem.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay, so we're also live on YouTube. Ooh, I think. No? 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. To find the cursor. Just a second. Too much noise going on here. Okay. All the gadgets here. All the screens. 1 second. Just have to plug something in. Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, Chavala, you're waking up in the middle of the night. One of the ladies from New York, 5 a.m. Not bad. To learn some Torah. All right, so this parsha is Bechukosai. Today's the first day of the week of Yesod. Yesod and Malchus, the last 2 weeks of the Omer, are very different than the first 5 weeks. Chazal tell us, and this is written in Chassidus, that the first 5 weeks of the Sfiras Omer, in other words, the weeks of Chesed, Gevur, Tiferet, Netzach, and Hod, each of these of the 5 weeks are very strong working weeks. We have to work very hard on our midos. We oftentimes get into fights with people, and there's all kinds of challenges. And Chazal tells us because these 5 weeks, He's helping us along by giving us brownie points, by giving us challenges that we have to overcome them. And when we overcome them, then we understand what needs we have, what we have to do to fix ourselves. And since we're still alive, since we're still alive, we definitely still have work to do. I don't know what happened to the YouTube channel. It's just something just happened. I don't know what. Okay, I hope that it's still recording. If not, then we have Gittis. So the first 5 weeks we're working very hard on our midos, on our character traits, on our challenges, etc., etc. That's the first 5 weeks. The last 2 weeks of the Omer, Yesod and Malchus, is different. And on a certain level, that's the same way it is with the midos in general. Yesod means I'm collecting all of the work that I did all week long, and then Malchus is I'm giving it into the practical world. And so Yesod and Malchus are oftentimes even more challenging, sorry to tell you this, than the first 5 weeks. Albeit, forewarned is forearmed. And so it's like the same thing that happens on Erev Shabbos. When Erev Shabbos, we all know that, especially in this winter when the Shabbos comes in early. Erev Shabbos is a time of a lot of pressure to get everything done and take showers, and depending on what age you're at in your life, either you have to get someplace for Shabbos or you have to receive your guests on Shabbos, and there's a lot of potential challenges on Erev Shabbos. So too, it's because there's a tremendous amount of kedusha on Erev Shabbos. Sorry, I keep dropping you guys. Similarly, I dropped this farm. Similarly, in the Erev Shavuos, right? Lots of challenges. But it also brings down the bracha in our life. That's what challenges do. Challenges bring bracha into our life. What's the biggest bracha that you need in your life? What's the biggest bracha that you need? So everyone has different things that they think are the biggest bracha that they need. Really, the biggest bracha that you need in your life is God awareness. That's it. That's the biggest bracha that you need, is to know and to feel and to be with Hashem, to vekus in Hashem all the time. That's the biggest bracha that a person could have in this world. And from that, everyone's able to deal with whatever it is that they need to deal with. And so so that's what we're doing in Yesod. In Yesod and Malchus, we're taking all the blessings that we worked and all the things that it might be easier for you the last 2 weeks because there's not so much work to do. It's more like the accountants in Shemayim are tallying, what we did, what we accomplished, or what happened to us. Not everybody, as we said at the very, very beginning of the sphere, not everybody does the sphere Omer proactively. Many people do it passively. They just by living through life and by seeing what life brings and by going through whatever blessings that we have or whatever challenges that we have, that's going through sphere Omer passively and being awake to the challenges. For example, let's just say that in the week of Gevurah, you had a lot of fights with people. So then Hashem is pointing out to you that you have to fix that. So, and how you didn't realize it was a good week of Gevurah, and now you're looking back and say, oh, that's when that happened, that's when this happened. Hashem is talking to us all the time because He always wants to lift us higher and lift us higher and lift us higher. Mamish, we can go infinite, almost infinite as you could go. And so that's these weeks, very, very strong weeks of in the Sfiras Omer. Today is the Chesed of Yesod in the Sefer that the Sefer Usfartam Lachem. Very nice Sefer on the Sfiras Omer. He says that Yesod means also being a tzaddik. It means being a tzaddik in all the areas of tzidkus, and it's connected to Yosef a tzaddik. And so how do we become a tzaddik? So in Chesed, today's Chesed of Yesod, think about all the chasadim that Hashem did for us in our life, all the blessings that Hashem has done for us, all the chasadim, all the kindness and all the love that Hashem has shown to us. And when we think about that, then it holds us back from doing something negative that would kick us out of the category of tzaddik. The tzaddik is a person who does everything right, does everything pure, lives the Shem Shemayim. And how do we become that? Just by thinking about all the chesed Hashem has done for us in our whole entire life. And it'll help us, just like Yosef HaTzadik. What did Yosef HaTzadik do at the very last minute when he was being overcome by the angel called the Malach HaMaves, called the Yetzer Hara? How did he overcome that crazy temptation with the Eshes Potiphar? And that temptation was not just a physical temptation; it was a spiritual temptation. There was stuff going on there that we don't even understand, because she indeed was the stepmother of his future wife, and she said, "I see that we have children together. I see that we have Shabbatim together." And her husband anyway wasn't with her. So it was such a confusing thing for Yosef HaTzadik, and yet how did he overcome it? By bringing up the image of his father, who he loved so much, by thinking about his father, thinking about Yaakov Avinu, who he loved. He thought about his father, and because of that, he was able to overcome the temptation of the false love, or the impure love that she was tempting him with. And so thinking about Hashem's love will help us to overcome temptations. Now listen, it's easier said than done. I could sit and say that to you. Here we're sitting and learning Torah together, and nobody's being tempted by anything. We're just learning Torah together. And when you're in the height of a nisayon, of a challenge, it's very, very hard to remember anything, because you get knocked off. That's what a challenge is. A challenge means that your da'as, your mind, you go temporarily insane. Your mind is not in charge and control, right? It says a ruach shtus. A person only sins if literally a ruach shtus, a spirit of insanity, of silliness enters. So how it's so hard to think during the time of a nisayon, to think about anything. Therefore, why? Therefore, what does Hashem do? Hashem gives us the whole week of Yesod. This whole upcoming week, starting from today, Hashem gives us a whole week where we can practice during the quiet times. Today we'll practice wanting to be a tzaddikah by thinking about Hashem's love. And tomorrow we're going to practice wanting to be a tzaddikah by showing Hashem's power. And Shabbos we're going to practice Tiferes of Yesod, which is wanting to be a tzaddikah, thinking about Hashem's beauty and Hashem's perfection in the world and Hashem's Torah, etc., etc. So Hashem gives us 1 week in the year And then he always also gives us every Friday, because Friday of the week, of the regular weekday week, of the week of Shabbos, the Shabbos second week, the sixth day of the week is the day of Yesod. The sixth day of the week is the day of Yesod. So we every Friday get to practice, so that hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem, when we're in an Nisayon, when we're in a test, we have this natural immunity or healthy immune system, a strong immune system, to put us on a higher level. Even though, again, whenever we have a test, tests mean that our da'as, our mind, is off a little bit. We get a whole week, and then we get a whole week in the Siyas Omer to try to ask Hashem, please help me to be a tzadikah, help me to be righteous, help me to be a tzadikah, that you, Hashem, testify that I'm a tzadikah. Not when people say, oh, she's such a tzadikah, she goes to the hospital every week and, I don't know, feeds the poor. That's also tzadikah, but that you could be a tzadikah like that and be nichshol and other things. I want to be the real thing. I really want to be, as much as I can, God aware. Because what's a tzaddik? A tzaddik is someone who's aware of Hashem every moment. Every moment. That's all there. Okay, so now we're regular people, right? We are regular people. But still, we could be more aware of Hashem. More aware of Hashem. Okay, so that's the week of the Sfira, Be'ezrat Hashem. We meet each other every Wednesday, which is next week is going to be the last Wednesday of the Omer, because the week after that, the week after that is Shavuos. 2 weeks from today is Shavuos, right? Tuesday night, Wednesday is Shavuos. And that's going to be the Chesed of Chasadim, when Hashem gives us the Torah again and again and again. Okay. Also today in the Parsha, we do B'chukosai. This year was a leap year, so we don't have any double parshios. Every parsha we have a single, so therefore last week, Bahar, this week of B'chukosai, 2 separate parshios, 2 short parshios. And our parsha is divided into 3 sections. Very simple parsha. First section says all the rewards you get by being good. Second section says all the horrible things that happen when you're being bad. The third section talks about the value of people and the nedarim, when people make a neder, when people say, I'd like to redeem my life. I'd like to make a pidyon nefesh. What's a pidyon nefesh? Nowadays we do them with tzaddikim and chasidim. A pidyon nefesh means, let's say a person is grateful. They wake up one day and they say, I'm so grateful to be alive, and I want to pay Hashem a gift. I want to give Hashem a gift. What can I give Hashem? We can't give Hashem anything. Of course, we give him nachas, and we give, and we try to, keep the Torah. But what can I give Hashem? So Hashem says, I don't need anything, but you want to give my children. What does that mean? It means we're going to give a gift to the Beis HaMikdash, or a gift to the Mishkan, or a gift to the Kohanim, or a gift to the Leviim, or a gift to any of the servants of Hashem. So the end of the parsha talks about if a person wants to redeem themselves. Let's say a person says, I feel that Hashem saved my life, and I want to redeem. I want to give the value of my life. So the parsha talks about the value and how much monetary value each person is, not because that's all you're worth. You might be a millionaire. Every single person between the ages of 20 and 60, whether they're pauper or they're a millionaire, is worth the same amount vis-a-vis the Beis HaMikdash. And so that's the end of the parsha. And then we're finished the book of Vayikra, and we say Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. And not just that, but we're going to bench Rosh Chodesh the Shabbos, right? Today's 22, 23, 24. Yeah, we're going to bench Rosh Chodesh, which comes out what day of the week? One day next week. One of you will tell me what day of the week Shabbat Rosh Chodesh comes out. Let's see. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, Shabbos, Friday. Friday? Rosh Chodesh comes out on Friday of next week? Anyway. Yeah, I think so, Taka. Okay. So
yes, it's Friday.
I thought you were
but like Rosh Chodesh is Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. That's strong next week. Okay. So that's the parsha, and the parsha. So the majority of the parsha, the beginning is the good part, and the end is the good part. The middle is hard. The middle is hard and harsh, and this tells us what's going to happen to us if we let go of Hashem. Just like what happens to you if you stick your hand in the fire? Is it a punishment that you get burned? It's not. It's just that how Hashem made the world. Hashem made the world that if you, unless you're Abraham Avinu and you're thrown into the Kivshan Aish, or you're Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and you're thrown into the Kivshan Aish, the furnace of fire, just because you're Jewish and you don't want to deny God, then Hashem doesn't let you burn. But everybody else, most of us, if you stick your hand into the fire, you're going to get a burn. Why is that? Is it a punishment? Hashem says no. That's the way fire is. That's the nature of fire. And every second, Hashem is re-choosing that to be the nature of fire. The Shabbos, the Rav said, he said, don't think that Hashem makes teva, Hashem makes nature. It's tricky. I'm going to say something that's it's hard to hear, and I want you to meditate before you ask a million questions. Just meditate on it for a couple of days. It's not like Hashem made teva, He made nature, He made rules, and then He says, "Okay, keep going." No, Hashem is every second, and again, because we can't understand what Hashem is, we don't understand how Hashem does this. But every second, Hashem is willing fire to burn. Every second, Hashem is willing the sun to warm us. Every second, Hashem is willing the walls not to fall down. Every second, Hashem is conscious, and recreating every nanosecond, every split second, there's no time in Hashem. And so it's not like Hashem made a rule and said, okay, now I made this rule of fire. If you stick your hand in, you're going to get burned. No, Hashem is saying, I'm willing the nature of fire to do what I chose it to do. When I created it to have this tendency, and I'm going to will it to continue. I'm willing it to happen. I'm willing it to right this second be fiery. So Hashem tells us, if you let go of me, then you're letting go of the source of your life. And for a Jewish person lives only by hashgacha, only by the divine intervention in his life. And so if you let go of that divine intervention, then you're going to be thrown to the elements, so to speak. And not that the elements aren't controlled by Hashem. Everything's controlled by Hashem. Hashem says, this is what's going to happen to you. If you're going to live like a goy, then you're going to live like a goy, and you're going to have the hashgacha that a non-Jew has, which is a diminished version of that. For a non-Jew, Hashem made the general plan. The non-Jewish world, the non-Jewish nations have a general plan. The Jewish nation has a detailed, every second we can change our plan. But if you live like a goy, you're going to live like a goy. That's what the second half of the parsha is, and that's very, very hard to hear. They say the story about the Alter Rebbe. Every year we say this twice a year, the story, because we have twice in the parsha Hashavot. We have the this now, and in Devarim we have the opposite of blessings, the recital of the opposite of the blessings. And we say the story every single year, twice a year, that the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, in his shul, he was the Baal Koreh. Just like in many shuls, now I'm learning this, that in many shuls, even though the Alter Rebbe wasn't Sephardic, but in the Sephardic shuls, the rabbi does everything. Not maybe because in olden days, he was the only one who knew how to do everything. But nowadays, they sometimes will hire a Baal Koreh or a Baal Tefillah, but really, the rabbi does everything. And so the Alter Rebbe was the Torah reader in his shul way back in Europe, 200 years ago. And one Shabbos he wasn't there for this parsha or for the parshas Kitavo, and somebody else read the parsha, and in the parsha were the story of the ramifications of what happens to a person if they don't keep the Torah. And the one who got the aliyah was the son of the rabbi. And when they read the klolos, he fainted. And they were shocked, like he just fainted. So they picked him up, they got him some water, they revived him, whatever, and he was like, well, he pulled himself back together, and he motioned to the Baal Koreh to continue reading, and the Baal Koreh continued where he left off, and the Alter Rebbe's son fainted again. And again, they revived him. I think it happened 3 times, and then they finally set him down someplace and, whatever. And they asked him what happened to him. What, are you okay? And he said, I never heard the Torah read like that. What are you reading? What terrible things? So they said, Rebbe, you're in your 20s and 30s. You never heard this aliyah before. You never heard this the Torah. This is the parsha. He said, I never heard anyone other than my own father read it. And when my father reads it, it doesn't sound like that. It's no curses when my father reads it. Somehow he knows the inner meaning of what this means, and it's sweet. It's just like every other pasuk of the Torah. But now this guy's reading it without the intentions, without kavanas, without understanding the deeper elements of what he's reading. It sounds horrible, horrific. I always think about this, like, how could that be? Like, how could you're reading some of these words are very scary. So a thought that I had, which I don't know if it's true, but that's just a thought that I had, was that when we first got the Torah, right, when Moshe Rabbeinu read us Parshas B'chukosai, in the times of the Torah, in the times of we were in the desert, and it says in the beginning of the part, and it says in the beginning of the part that's telling us, if we're bad, what bad things are going to happen. So let's see what it says. If you don't listen to me, and you don't do my mitzvahs, and if you rebel against, or if you reject, or if you hate my mitzvahs, if my way of life, says Hashem to the Jewish people, makes you is so distasteful to you, the vilti asot kol mitzvotay lahafrechem et and you're not going to do a mitzvah, then you're going to break my bris, my covenant with you. I'll do the same thing to you. I'll break my covenant with you. So maybe the Jewish people felt like this is never going to happen. We're never going to not do the mitzvah. Hashem just took us out of Egypt. He redeemed us. He gave us this most beautiful way of life. He's making us miracles every second. Why would this part of the Torah ever be relevant? Just like the Ben Sorer Omer, right? The Chazal say, the rebellious son who eats too much and drinks too much and rebels against his parents. That rebellious son never happened. The actuality of having a person like that between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half, and has to eat a certain amount of food, and has to drink a certain amount of wine, and has to rebel in a certain way against the parents. The situations, the circumstances can never happen and will never happen. So why does Hashem put it into the Torah? To teach us to learn. We should learn it, and we'll get reward for the learning. So too, this is my feeling today. Like when the Jewish people heard this whole parsha, they said, this is not relevant to us. Maybe all the curses that are written here, if we don't keep the Torah, will happen to our enemies. Like it says, in Mitzrayim, whatever was a plague for the Egyptians was a blessing for the Jewish people and a healing for the Jewish people. So the Jewish people maybe thought, we'll never not listen to you, Hashem. We're never going to abandon you, Hashem. We love you. We owe you everything. You're sustaining us every second, and you're the creator. And therefore, everything that you teach us to do is perfect. And everything that you teach us to do is for our benefit and for the perfection of your creation. Why would we ever not listen to you? So it didn't scare them to hear about these things because they knew it wasn't going to happen. And they thought it will happen to the enemies of the Jewish people. And sadly, it happened. It happened after when did we begin to go astray as in a big bulk of people, of Jews? There was always a Jew here or a Jew there, but in the time of the Reformation, supposedly, right, of the Jewish people in Germany 200 years ago, that's when there were a group that stayed within Judaism and tried to rebel against Hashem and His mitzvah. And then in Germany came the Shoah. It's exactly what it says here. If you leave me as a nation, even as an individual, but certainly as a group, then Hashem leaves you. I mean, the fact, what does it say? The Meiri or the Sforno? One of the commentators says a bigger miracle than Kriyas Yamsuf and the splitting of Red Sea is the fact that the Jewish people have survived all these thousands of years and we're still showing mitzvahs. Right now, if Moshe Rabbeinu would walk into this room, he would recognize me as an Orthodox Jew, as a Torah Jew. I have a mitpacha. Okay, maybe they didn't have these kind of colors when he was, but Tsanua, Torah, working Torah, words of Torah, he would recognize us. Okay, it's a different world, but he would recognize us as one of his family, as one of his nation. So there's a very interesting repetition of words. 4 times is repeated in this parsha. The only time in Chumash. Im telchui mikeri. If you go with me, keri. Kuf reshu. V'halachani mikeri. V'halachti gam ani itchem keri. The word keri, kuf reshud, is from the word mikre. Mikre means an accident, by accident. If you go with me, if you live your life in a way that you don't see Hashem's hand in your life, and you say, there's science, there's nature, they try to make it nice by calling it Mother Nature. If you live with Hashem as an abstract, uninvolved creator that somehow created and then went off to, I don't know, play video games for the rest of eternity. If you go with Hashem with keri again, it means mikre, it means by accident, coincidental. Things just happen. The world just runs. If you go like that, if you think that the world is just running on by itself, and without intervention of Hashem, then I won't intervene, says Hashem. I'll just let you go. If you think that Hashem let go of you, if you let go of Hashem, so Hashem says, Azu mida keneged mida. That's the language that you understand. So I'll do that. I'll let go of you. And then see what happens to you when you try to live on your own, when you try to live without Hashem. 4 times the word is used. Nowadays, keri is also used as a word to when a man has a semen that leaves him, not for a mitzvah. That's also called that same word. And I remember that there was during the time of Obama, Yamach Shemo, his Secretary of State was named Kerry, right, John Kerry. And I remember when I heard that name, I said, oh, he's going to be bad news. So Hashem says, if you're going to go with me like that, I'm going to go with you like that. If you don't believe in me, if you don't believe that I'm guiding your life, if you don't believe that every single thing that I say to you is relevant, then I'll let go and I'll see what happens to you. And you'll see that the guns are not going to help, and the FBI, the CIA is not going to help, and the Shabak is not going to help, and your incredible army is not going to help. Chas v'shalom, and everything. If you let go of me, I let go of you. That's called mida connected mida. Hashem acts towards us as we act towards Him. When it says in Tehillim, Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your shadow. Why did David Melch use the word shadow? Because as a shadow, as we are, so is a shadow. And I'm sure that you all have fond memories of when your babies first began playing with their shadows, or they saw the shadow on the floor, and they were like surprised at it, and they didn't know what it was, and so a shadow does what you do. And so Hashem says that's how I'm choosing to run the world. So, but we want to have an elaboration on that. That's in the section of the parsha that's in the middle of the parsha. He was talking about the curses. So now I want to elaborate on that. And Chazal What did Chazal do? How do Chazal elaborate on the main message of the parsha? Is that they gave us the Haftorah. So again, the Haftorah we learned years and years ago. Remember, Gitzi? Were you here with us then? We did a whole year of doing the Haftorah. Remember, that was Yibadol Chaim Tov for you. That was when Gitzi was still alive, was still here. So Rabbi Tzilchan, you probably remember that, and Rabbi Tzilchan, you probably remember that. And whoever was with us years and years ago, we did a whole year of the Haftorah. So the Haftarah, the dessert, we added in a portion from the prophets that our rabbis added into our weekly reading in shul, in the synagogue, is always an elaboration of the main point of the parsha. So what's our Haftarah? Very interesting. Our Haftarah is from the book of Yirmiyahu. It's not a long Haftarah at all. It begins Perek Tet Zayin, Pasuk Yatet, then it skips Perek Yud Zayin. I'm sorry. Begins Perek Tet Zayin, doesn't do the whole Perek, right? And it goes from Pasuk Yatet, the last two psukim of Perek Tet Zayin, and then Perek Yud Zayin, the first bunch of psukim. And here you see, by the way, our Chazal are showing us how the prakim that we have, that we use right now, are not biblical. What do I mean by that? They were not, when it says here in the Navi, Perek Tet Zayin, Yirmiyahu didn't write his book with prakim, with chapters. From what I remember, and I have this major question of why we still use this, is that the Christian people, at a certain point, they wanted to debate us, and they didn't know the whole Tanakh by heart, so they put in the chapters so that they could quote chapter and verse. Like that expression, to quote chapter and verse, is an expression related to how the Christians wanted to debate with us, and therefore they divided up. You could tell a Jew, a Jew knew the whole Tanakh by heart. That was how we learned by heart. We always learned Tanakh by heart. I think that Sarah Shnira made all of her girls learn Tanakh by heart. Yeah? Anyway, so here we see that the Haftarah is chosen, the last two psukim of Perek 16, and the first, how many psukim? The first 14, actually it's the whole Perek of Perek 17, is one thought. So that therefore it's one Perek. So the prakim here are off. I remember hearing someone say that because we already did it, and it's convenient for us, so we still continue to have these prakim. But I do know that there is a segment of the Chardal world, the Haredi Dati Lumi world, and maybe the Zilbermans, maybe, I don't know, I have to ask my students whose kids go there, who also learn Tanakh by heart, and they do not do these prakim. They have a different set of prakim because there is a division within every single book of the Navi, but it's much, it's not like, 56 prakim that Yirmiyahu has or whatever. It's much fewer prakim, that division. To my understanding, the only book that actually has prakim that are indeed recognized by Chazal is Tehillim. Otherwise, not. Yeah, otherwise, no, none of the. Also, if you look at Eicha, you could see, because Eicha has, the four prakim of Eicha are in alphabetical order, except for the one that's not, right? So you can see that there are chunks of units there. Okay, so listen to this. So what is the main teaching, or the main point that we have to strengthen in Parshas B'chukosai to avoid having the curses, and to avoid looking at this world as if things just happen to happen. I just happen to think about you, and then you just happen to call. No, Hashem put into your head to think about that person, and don't even. Some people will say, "Wow, I drew you to me, like I was thinking about you, and you picked it up and you called me." No, Hashem put that person in your mind. Hashem put you in the other person's mind. It's not like It's not like Hashem is not involved. And again, you have to think deeply before you start asking questions. Meditate on that thought for a few days. That Hashem is orchestrating every last thing. And we can't understand. We can't understand how Hashem does things, why Hashem does things. We have to be humble enough to admit that we're not God, and we don't understand how and why Hashem does things. Last week in Shul, they asked the Rav, how come it's in his community? How come there's so many single people in this generation? Such a hard thing getting married. So many people getting divorced. So many people not even getting married l'chatchila. What's going on? And the Rav said that the biggest mystery that Hashem didn't give over even to the angels. The first mystery, of course, is when the Geula, when the redemption will come. And the second mystery is the whole secret of zivugim. There's no way that even an angel could understand the choreography that Hashem has to do to make zivugim happen. That's why it says in the Gemara that the Roman woman asked Reb Meir, what's Hashem doing all this time? And Hashem said Hashem is making zivugim. And she said, that's ridiculous. And she took 100 or 1,000 made of her servants, and male and female, and she matched. And she said, you, right? She just matched them together. And the next morning, they all had black eyes and broken arms and broken legs, right? And then she said, now I understand. That's a very superficial reading of that story. But Hashem is creating this whole system of zivugim is something that even the angels can't fathom. They can't fathom it. And the Ariya Kadosh, if you ever want to read Sefer HaGilgulim, just to see that you don't know anything, read. It's in English. Go online and read the Sefer HaGilgulim, the Book of Reincarnations by the Ariya Kadosh. They have it in the Tzfat. And what's their name up in Tzfat? The Ascent. In the Ascent, ASCENT, in the Ascent website, they have the whole Sefer HaGilgulim in English with a commentary. Even with the commentary, if you can figure out what that's talking about, you need flow charts. You need a computer to try to figure out a little bit of what the Ariya Kadosh is talking about, and the different possibilities and reasons and combinations and permutations. And you have to just let go of it. You have to let go of even thinking that you can understand it. So here's what the Haftarah is telling us to help us to understand what Emunah is. He says like this. Hayaselo Adam Elohim v'hem Elohim. Can a man make a God for himself when there's no such thing as making a God for yourself? Hashem says, I'm going to teach them. I want to teach the Jewish people again. And Yirmiyahu is hundreds and 1,000 years after Moshe Rabbeinu. So we forgot. So Hashem says, now I'm going to remind you. Okay, and he goes on. He says that we forgot about Hashem, and we forgot, and we were very much influenced by the Canaanite nations that we didn't wipe out. Remember in the beginning of the book Yoshua, Hashem says, Yoshua, wipe them all out totally. Don't let even one stay, because if one stays, one will become two will become a community will start influencing your community, and it's going to be bad for the Jewish people. We didn't wipe out everybody, especially who didn't we wipe out? The Plishtim in Gaza. Thousands of years ago, we didn't wipe out the Plishtim in Gaza, and to this day, Gaza never became sanctified, and it's a source of our frustration and pain for all of these years. By the way, it's interesting that in Parshas Bechukosai, at the end of the Parsha, I don't know if you ever noticed this, at the end of the Parsha, there's a counting of how many Pesukim there are in the Parsha. So this week's Parsha is Aza Pesukim, Ayin, Zayin, Aleph. Not Ayin, Zayin, Hey, but Ayin, Zayin, Aleph. Aza Pesukim. It means 78 Pesukim, when you spell Aza with an Aleph at the end instead of a Hey at the end. And it's the story, and it's the Parsha where the curses are written. The curses are, if you think that your army is the best in the world, and you think that you're the smartest in the world, and you're the strongest in the world, just because you're an Israeli, I have a lot of things to teach you, says Hashem. And that's why And it's interesting, right? As a psukim. So here, he says like this. What was the problem of why we got kicked off the land because we didn't keep Shemitah? We learned last week that Shemitah means I don't own anything, Hashem owns everything. And Hashem is giving it to me as a gift. He is leasing me my property, leasing me my house. Even if your house is in Chutz La'aretz, even if you live in Chutz La'aretz, in Chutz La'aretz you don't have Shemitah, the laws of Shemitah, but you do have the same lesson. The lesson is, I own nothing, zero. Hashem gifted me, and He's gifting me every single day. He's gifting me. He's giving me this house. He's giving me this apartment. He's giving me my property, my clothing, my food, my job. Everything Hashem is giving us. So Shemitah reminds us that everything is from Hashem. It takes a whole year. Every 7 years, we need one full year to reinforce and remind ourselves everything belongs to Hashem. Everything is Hashem. Everything is from Hashem. Hashem is doing everything. A whole year we need that. And the parsha says that when we got kicked off of our land, now the land can have its shmitas. Meaning, one of the reasons that we got kicked out of Eretz Yisrael was because we did not keep Shemitah. And P.S. just to be Malamed Zchus on Klal Yisrael, this past Shemitah we kept was the most Shemitahs we ever kept since we are back in Eretz Yisrael for sure. And there's most Torah learning. So it says here, Kol Amar Hashem, lots of psukim that you know by heart. Arur HaGever Sheyiftach Badam. Well, you know the flip side of that, which comes a pasuk and a half later. Kol Amar Hashem, this is what Hashem says. Arur HaGever, the person who trusts in people and who their whole life is relying on people, that person is cursed. If the person doesn't bring Hashem into the picture, but he's only relying on people, he's going to be like a dry tree in a dry desert, and even if a good day comes, he won't see it because he's in a dry desert. He's going to live on dry land in the desert, Eretz Melecha, salty land that nothing can grow, can't even grow. So a person who trusts in people. Now, what does it mean to trust in people? A husband has to trust his wife, and a wife has to trust her husband. Parents have to trust kids, and kids have to trust parents. Students have to trust teachers, and teachers have to trust students. Shopkeepers have to trust customers. Customers have to trust shopkeepers. It doesn't mean to trust. It means to rely on. It means to lean on. It means if I don't have you, I fall apart. That's what is arur. And people know that. People are very needy. When the person who they depend on leaves or is whatever taken away, if they fall apart, that means they were. It's sad because they were leaning on that person. And I could tell you so many stories about that. I'm sure you all know stories about that. Just to talk about shopkeepers and more malam and more zchus on Klal Yisrael. Yesterday I was walking by. It was late at night, and it was 2 nights ago. And I was walking home from the bus. The bus decided, I don't know if any of you were on the bus, let's see, like one was Motzei Shabbos, a Sunday night. Sunday night, all of a sudden, the buses decide that they don't want to come into Har Nof. It was Sunday night, not Motzei Shabbos. And they stopped by the Masaf, they stopped by the top of Har Nof. So he says, everybody get off the bus, I'm not going in. They just got a message from the bus depot, don't go into Har Nof. So we said to him, no, that was from last night. Look, check your messages, that's last night, tonight the holiday's over. The guy wouldn't budge. He said no. He just got the message now on his phone. Who knows what kind of phone he has. He didn't go into Har Nof for 45 minutes. There were no buses coming into Har Nof until somebody complained and they got the message. Meanwhile, I walked. How long did it take me? I don't know, a half hour. But it was nighttime. And I passed by the big fruits and vegetable store on Charleston. And he had got, somehow, something happened. He had all of his fruit. The store was closed, locked. Everything was closed and locked because it was night. But all the produce was out. It was covered, with cloths and shmatas. But everything was there. Anybody could have come, filled up a whole shopping cart of lemons, and I forgot what else was out there. Citrus was out there, and maybe some avocados were out there. A whole bunch of stuff was out there. And the guy wasn't there. And I said, see Hashem, he's not afraid. No one's going to take. You're going to see no one's going to take. Nobody took. And it's covered, and he'll come in the morning, and he'll uncover it. Or if somebody took because they needed it, and the guy was closing, he'll come the next day and pay. I was so proud to be a Jew at that point. I was very proud. I said, Hashem, look, you see? The truth is that a lot of times they have their produce out and unguarded, but it's the produce that you could take anyway because it's hefker, because it's not such good produce. I'm sure you know this all over, that whenever there's inferior produce that they don't want to sell, they just give it away. You can take it. It's just like on Erev Shabbos, if it's too close to Shabbos and there's no, they'll just take the challah, whatever. And I've seen people go to the shuk, from people go to the shuk Erev Shabbos late in the day because the prices drop and they need to have the lower prices. So here, what we said before in the beginning of the parsha, what's the curse is when you don't have Hashem in your life and when you think everything is just happening. And the Haftarah echoes that. Arur Hagish. How cursed is the man that person is trusting Hashem, is trusting people. This is a pasuk that you know by heart. And blessed is the person who trusts in Hashem, and Hashem is who he trusts. Why is it written twice? Because you trust in Hashem and then you lean on Hashem. You trust in Hashem to the exclusion of anything else. And again, Hashem gave us the mitzvah to do hishtadlus. It's a mitzvah to do hishtadlus, but the hishtadlus does nothing. Here, this is an echo from Tehillim. David Melch got this from Yirmiyahu Hanavi. And that person who trusts in Hashem is so. One second. That person who trusts in Hashem is so well fed that they're like a tree growing by the water. It never has to be watered. It doesn't need rain. Sorry. Doesn't need rain because they have a source of water all the time. Doesn't matter if it's hot. Doesn't matter if it's cold. If it's hot, it will always. So Peri is always going to bring fruit. Why? Because that person trusts in Hashem, and Hashem is Kol Yachol. The very end of the parak is Rafa'inu Hashem B'nei Rafi, which is where our Chazal put into the Shemona Esrei. Rafa'inu Hashem B'nei Rafi. So you heal me, Hashem, I'll be healed. You help me, Hashem. So that's the whole point of everything, is that Hashem is in our life. Don't let go of Hashem for a second. Don't get tricked. I'm talking to myself like I talk to you. We have to work on our emunah bitachon to the point where we don't get tricked by this world, because Hashem in this world is ne'elam. We don't see Him. I heard this morning such a beautiful teaching from Rabbi Wallerstein. So, when I see him on the, they say every once in a while, if you have a subscription, sorry, everything's lopsided. So they send you, from Rabbi Wallerstein, they send you things. So today they sent out such a sweet message that he was teaching. I think he said, I didn't catch the beginning of it, but I think he said he was teaching first grade. And there was when he was first a bacher. And there was a little girl who always came very untidy. Her hair wasn't ever combed properly, and she was untidy in her clothing. And he saw that, she would come to school like that, and he saw that he understood that there was problems at home if they're sending her to school, such a disheveled. Anyway, he decided, instead of asking her anything directly, he would just teach the class and see if through the class. In first grade, it was a little girl, 6 years old. So he said to the children, I want you to tell me, he asked them a question, he said, children, I want to ask you, where is Hashem? But don't tell me out loud, I want you to write it down. Now, little first graders don't really know how to write, so he said you could draw a picture, but you could tell me, where is Hashem? So he said all the kids wrote in Shemayim, and Hashem is in the sky, Hashem is whatever. And this little girl wrote inside. I don't know how she conveyed that. This is what he said. She wrote inside. Maybe it wasn't a second grader or a third grader, because first graders don't know how to write. Anyway, so all the kids said outside, and she said inside. So he asked her, where does she mean inside? And she said inside. Inside, that's where Hashem is, inside. So he said, he asked her, how do you know? So she said, because I feel him inside. But Wallison said, when a child doesn't have anything outside, they have to feel inside. And so that's what we have to work on, is feeling Hashem inside and trusting Hashem inside. And being very honest with ourselves and asking Hashem to help us to have an upgrade, one more step, another level, one step up of another level of emunah, another level of bitachon. I heard that what's his name? What's his name? The one who was in jail for the meat packing. They were unjust, and he finally got out of jail. What was his name? What's his name? The Chabadnik. No? Anyway, he just wrote his book on emunah, bitachon, and Geula, Aleph Beis Gimel, right? He used to say Aleph Beis Gimel, emunah, bitachon, Geula. So he wrote this book, and they translated it now into Hebrew, and they gave it to Rav Dov Cook, and he wrote a beautiful introduction to it, because that's really what it is: emunah, bitachon, Geula. A person has emunah, bitachon. A person has trust in Hashem and is always thinking about Hashem and talking to Hashem. That's the Geula, that's redemption. Okay, hi everybody on Zoom. Hi Chavi. Hi Yudis. Did I put you to sleep, Chavla? Sometimes my voice puts people to sleep, and she's in the middle of the night over there. Hi Yudis, and hi Rebbe Rachel, and hi Davida, and hi Gitzi, and hi everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos, a wonderful, wonderful day. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will meet next month, Wednesday. The Wednesday after, of course, is Shavuos. We will not, and we should have just success in emunah, bitachon, and geula. Be'ezrat Hashem. The shir said for the neshamas of all who passed. They don't need our ilu neshama, but for their neshamas, and for the zechus of all the chatzufim, and all the chayalim, and all the psuim, all those who are kidnapped, and all those who are hostages, and all those who are the soldiers, and who is ever in the hospital, and anyone, for every single Jew in the entire universe, we give the shir to them. The zechus, we give the shir to them. Hi, Sarah, we're just ending the shir now. Sorry, just getting on now. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Well, take care. Good Shabbos.
Okay.